They informed me that I will go to jail.
That wouldn't be good.
I am responsible for the behaviors of all of my participants, and I'm not allowed to kick them out. What?
Nice.
There's no kick feature, but if somebody shares stuff that is illegal or inappropriate, you are responsible.
That does not make sense.
It's Google covering their own butt.
I know,
it's
but still.
Those terms. So.
If it happens.
Right.
Okay, guys, I've got Camtasia up. We're not on air, but let's go ahead and jump into some Facebook stuff today. We've come out today for the first part of the Summer Hangout series, and this is a discussion or a roundtable event covering topics relevant to blogging and marketing. Today's topic on the floor is Facebook tips and tricks. And so we're going to talk about what's current with Facebook, anything that you want to share, different insights, tips, tutorials, things like that. So let's jump right in. There's been a lot of discussion today about all of the changes that Facebook has made to the email systems and all of the things that have affected the mobile users. Anyone have some thoughts?
I don't use Facebook email.
You know, I don't either, generally. In fact, did you see what's up on my profile? Does anybody see my profile?
Which one?
Well,
the Google Plus profile?
No, on my Facebook profile. If you go to my Facebook profile, the cover of the profile, not the page, but the profile, has a little lower bar in it that says, the button below sends stuff to my never-to-be-read folder. It tells you not to use it. It says, go connect via the connect on my page, so it goes to my email inbox. Because I haven't found a way to block the darn thing. You can keep non-friends out of it, but you can't keep friends out of it.
Whoa. I'm just trying to go to your Facebook to see what you're talking about. Is it the Ask Kim page?
No, search for Kimberly J. Castleberry. It has my middle initial in my profile.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Okay, and it's a big, bright, obnoxious teal and pink cover.
Yeah.
And see the little pink bar? What does it say?
Contact me via the contact form on my page. Goes to email. This message button links to my never going to be read folder.
Yep. And people still send me messages via that thing.
I try once in a while to see if it's true or not.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you see, I have this radar for Paulino, so, you know, when the notification pops up, or Kathy does it to me, nobody reads it. But I think that's a really interesting insight into friction in marketing, because I've created that friction point and people completely ignore it. Everybody does what is impulse and what is quick and what is expected to be part of the platform. They don't stop and read.
So your point really is people are going to do what they want to do, not what you want them to do.
Oh, definitely.
You can really guide them. But wouldn't you not, just so I understand about the email system, if they sent you a message, wouldn't you see the little red flag by the globe and you would know it, right?
I do, but because of my level of connections with people, I have about 1,500 in my inbox.
Oh, forget that. Okay, got it.
Okay, so essentially this has become a full separate email inbox that I have to babysit. And they sort it on their own, so the stuff goes to this other folder that I can't even manage. I have no backups of this stuff. I have no ability to pop this into external email systems. I have no... They want to force me in, and they've succeeded, unfortunately. And
so basically... Go ahead, Rhonda, sorry.
I just wanted to know what the change was. I know that there's been news about the Facebook email this week, but I don't know exactly what they changed.
Somebody, go ahead and tell her. Do you know what happened?
No.
Okay.
What happened?
On your profiles have always shown your email address, if you didn't hide it, to your friends. It's always had a place for your email field. If you didn't hide the visibility, which you could do, it had a place that showed your primary email address to your friends. And they went in there and replaced that line entry with your Facebook email address.
Yeah.
And so they hid your real email address in the process. And that created the first uproar. Then, because of errors they made, maybe, was it accidental, was it intentional, no one knows. CNN has been all over them, grilled them to death. They pushed this to their Facebook app, which has cell phone integration, and overwrote a lot of our contact books in our smartphones. And so took all those email addresses that we had pulled into our smartphones for these contacts and overwrote all those email addresses. Things that we feel they don't have the right to do. They don't have the right to automatically write that stuff to my cell and cost me to lose those email addresses. And
so
they did.
In other words, you manually added contacts to your cell phone and they overrode them?
Well, if you have Facebook, you often have your contacts integrated. You have Facebook is kind of syncing with your contact book. And that's kind of how the smartphones both work, both iOS and Android. They have this Facebook integration so that your Facebook contact book is part of your main contact book. And so that you don't see entries twice, you see them kind of as a merged thing. But Facebook shouldn't have the right to wipe data you've put in there. It should be able to add supplemental stuff to enrich the book, but not to just blow away data just because it wants to further its own business agendas.
That's messed up.
Yeah, they are taking heat for it this week.
Yeah, I just while you were talking, I went and I checked my info page, and what I found was my primary email address that I used for business is no longer there.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I totally didn't even realize they had done that. I mean, to give me a Facebook email address is one thing, because I do check, you know, my box at least once a day. But for them to wipe out my business email address, I'm getting some feedback here.
Yeah, Allie, you got some feedback, love.
Feedback.
Meaning we're hearing your speakers back through your microphone because you don't have a headset and your audio and your microphone and your speakers are close.
Okay.
So we're hearing ourselves in loop.
Oh, all right.
Grab a headset, sweetie.
Let me go grab something. Hold on.
Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of appalled, actually, that they would take away my business email address. And I mean, I don't mind having the Facebook one there. If they want to put it there, okay, fine. That's the price I pay for using their platform. But don't take away my business email address, please. Thank you.
Okay. Now, on the bright side, you can go in to edit your details. Your other one is there. You can hide that one and force your other one to reappear. You can manually override this, but you have to do it, and you have to know it happened, and they didn't tell us.
Exactly, and that's my point. And how many people are out there not even knowing? They don't have a clue that this happened, and I think I just made a note that I need to send my list some information about this because, you know, my gosh, they need to be informed.
Yeah. How do you feel about Facebook's ask forgiveness, not permission stance?
I think with that many people, like with the amount of users that they have, like everywhere, that's a seriously bad idea to take that route. Just because, at least from a business perspective, I mean, the PR nightmare that could come of it is pretty huge, but maybe they just don't care because they're so big anyway.
I can understand not asking permission, but I have to wonder why we don't get little pop-up notification, close the little thing. How hard is that?
Yeah.
I think they're just trying so many new features all the time that probably for something that they would consider that a small change or something they're testing out and then they leave it. It seems like there are so many new features that sometimes they test something out without completely informing people, putting those notifications, that they just go with it, and when they get heat, then they ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
But again, there are so many people there. I think they say they don't care. It's just that their whole business is about this relationship and humanizing, and sometimes they can say, well, we are humans, we make errors too, like Google just did with the whole event system.
Oh, yeah.
They're big too and getting heat, and I think at this stage it's not about they strategically planned making a mistake and then ask for forgiveness. They're just busy trying to make this a bigger business now with the IPO and stuff like that, that I think it's simply busy and it's not in their plans to strategically say, okay, we're going to make this change and notify everyone, except when it's something big like timeline and all that stuff.
But they could. I mean, they could so totally let everybody know and say, hey, we're giving everyone a Facebook email, and then you can click here if you want to make it like your primary email. I mean, they could totally do that if they wanted to, rather than forcing features.
We're talking.
Sorry, my daughter's getting involved here. She loves the Facebook. Ooh.
Hey, Chica. How you doing, babe?
Let me say hello.
What's your name?
What's your name? She can't hear because I
Hello. What's your name?
Palami.
I didn't quite catch that over the audio. Oh, she's adorable.
Oh, what a cutie.
You got a cutie.
All right. Okay,
You got a cutie there, Robert.
Oh, you go. Yeah, she's trouble.
What is her first name?
How old
She'll be in the rest of the conversation.
What is her name?
Palami.
Very pretty.
That's pretty.
But going back to the rent that I was on, yes, like having been a developer for 8 years and building many applications, I know for a fact that they could though make it optional. They could make it opt-in instead of opt-out. I mean, how many internet marketers do you know that get in trouble or email people they get in trouble for making it opt-out, right, instead of opt-in?
Welcome to Google.
I mean, I think it's a bad direction to go.
Yeah.
That's such a great point because, the gold standard with email and everything else is not only opt-in, but double opt-in. And, it's a matter of, best practice. So I don't know how they thought they would get away with it.
But Rhonda, you're talking about email, but you already opt-in into Facebook and their terms of services.
Exactly.
Which I honestly haven't read them all, but I'm sure somewhere there it says we have the right to change our system at any time. And Kim, I'm sure
I've
you read them all.
repeatedly. They've changed them a bunch again, too. They like to do that.
Right.
All right, so not to get too off on a tangent, but they have a franchise to protect. If they piss enough people off, they open the door for someone else to do what they do. So I would think that they would want to, they've taken heat on privacy before. I would think that the better course would have been to be above board. I don't know.
I don't know. I think I'm starting to feel that a bit of the honeymoon phase with Facebook is over. The people are not as accepting as they were. People are a little more cynical. And I think there's starting to be a little bit of an itch of people starting to wonder if maybe there's something else. And I'm talking about from the average population. Us social marketers will go where we need to be. And we already are. I mean, if you want to talk about where we're at today. But the average population, I think, is finally starting to get frustrated. And I'm even hearing it from particularly the 18 to 25s, who are really now annoyed that mom and dad are here. I mean, this was their place, and mom and dad are now here. Grandma and grandpa's now here. I can't do anything. Everybody's now here. And, and they know there's no privacy. They know everybody's into their business. They know recruiters are into their business. And I think that there's just a little bit of itch in the water that something could come along. I don't know what that something will be, but it could prove tremulous. Facebook really needs to figure out how to get back in that sweet spot and how to get that user favor back again.
Yep, I agree.
If you're picking up on that frustration, which I agree about, are you picking up on any fatigue? Because that's the other concern that I kind of have is, are people tiring of the relentless, I have to check this every day, I have to post every day? Or is that just me, the social media marketer speaking, because I'm getting a little overwhelmed?
And one quick thing, Rhonda, tilt your camera down just a little bit so that the lower third isn't cutting off your nose. There you go. Hey, there you go. Much better. I don't know. My mom seems thrilled with Facebook. She logs in, she plays games. She yelled at me for blocking chat. I got yelled at for blocking chat. I do. I block the chat module so that it doesn't, it's one of the things on Facebook I block, simply is. And she yelled at me because she says, I no longer see you on chat. Why don't I see you on chat? She says, I want to tell you something. I said, you can't call me? You can't text me? You can't something? She says, you got to be on chat. This is not acceptable. So is the average, the true average, go back to the true average, Dunbar's number has 150 to 250 friends. Are they fatigued with Facebook? I don't know that they are. I think they're a little burned out. I think they're fatigued with the changes. But the daily use of it, I think they still like it.
So, interestingly enough, I just finished reading a book by Nicholas Carr called The Shallows. And what it's talking about, and I don't know if anyone else here has read it, it's a great book, but what he is talking about is that, like, literally our brains are not set in stone, right? So as we age and as we have all these experiences, literally our brains rewire themselves. And so what he was talking about is basically people have lost the ability to like sit down and read a book or to pay attention for an extended period of time because but what we've gained is that we can parse through large amounts of information faster, like shorter bits. So Twitter, Facebook status updates, things of this nature. So basically, you keep throwing stuff at people, they might not remember anything, like any of it, but they love it. Like people want the fresh, they want the new information, and they want it to just like keep coming at them. And so they get used to being able to handle that kind of stuff. So the issue of fatigue doesn't really appear because literally people's brains are like rewiring themselves to be able to cope with this just continuous flood of updates that keep coming in.
And what I hear, the other day I was talking to a group of teenagers that are new entrepreneurs and trying to build, and what I hear, like, they like what's his name, Robert was talking about, all the information, especially when it comes from their friends and activities, and they kind of zone out of all the other stuff that we look out for, the Facebook changes and all that. And they do hear only when someone like me would stand in front of them and talk about it and say, do you know about this change? Do you know about that? You know, some of these kids, 18 to 25.
Thank you.
Bless you. Some of these kids, you know, I showed them a profile and a page, and they were not sure how to distinguish the two. You know, for us it's so obvious. So I think the frustration comes when it makes the big news. All these changes, the email thing and other things, they don't see that right away. But when it makes the big tunes and it creates an impact of them, I think the level of frustration goes up a little notch. I don't think it's a daily thing. It's like, oh, Facebook again. I think when the changes really make the big channels is when their frustration kicks
what
in
Robert was
more.
saying about the changes to our brain, that comes back to that many of us have joked that social media causes ADHD. And I've felt the same thing in myself. I used to be an established reader. I used to be, while I've always multitasked, you know, whether it's a woman thing or a human thing, I find myself a human thing.
Human thing?
I find myself more scattered.
Yes, please.
Now. I find myself more jumping from bit to bit. I find myself less steady focused. And when I don't have that things to jump between, I find myself frustrated with that moment, with the lack of input, the same as an ADHD child will start to move around in class and kind of disrupt class looking for that stimulus. I think we start to seek it too.
Squirrel! Squirrel!
Shiny!
Kim, I want to say I feel exactly the same way. You put into words it's a tangible change in the way my brain's work, the way I see it work.
Yeah, and this literally, it becomes a physical change inside of your brain that does occur, which is why you gotta really watch out. So, I mean, something that this is well outside the subject, but I mean, something I do is on a daily basis, I have an hour set aside just to read books. So So I know how to book them and what have you. But of course, I read Kim's blog because that's how I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And all
Somebody's
the
got to
geekery.
fill in your daily dose of geek, you know.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, so it's question too for the group is since we're talking like 18 to 24-year-olds, right, which probably make up a huge amount of Facebook. And one thing, so I lived in Thailand for a year and a half, and interestingly enough, when I was there like 3 years ago, High Five controlled the scene, but now Facebook controls the scene there, and they are on smartphones. They're all over the day. They basically won, like in Thailand and parts of Asia. And there's a lot of younger kids using that too. And so again, to your point, Paulino, that they don't really notice any of these changes as where we marketers might, because they're just in it all the time. I mean, a question for the group too would be, how much are 18 to 24-year-olds using email? Like say compared to us, because the kids that I saw were purely inside of Facebook. Like they don't use email, they use text messaging, and they use Facebook, and like that's it. So for them, it's like whatever, as long as it's inside of Facebook, they're good to go.
The social pundit whose son said, "Dad, it's real simple. Facebook wants to be everything. We don't email. We use Facebook. We don't, do X, Y, and Z. We use Facebook. It's just how it is." And, he said, the social pundit pretty much said, he's kind of spot on. The kids get this. He says, we don't seem to have caught on. But yeah, and I think that's why the new Facebook Messenger app, attempting to replace SMS, to connect you into the Facebook Messenger app on the smartphones, so that again, you're forced through the Facebook system. And
well, it's walled garden. It worked pretty well for Apple. And Facebook's been that way for
it's still
quite a while
working well for
too,
Apple,
so.
because Facebook has because Apple has the Messenger platform that lets two Apple devices communicate without SMS, just like SMS. And so, they've got free text messaging essentially between Apple devices now. And that's something that a lot of families and a lot of parents are favoring. Is it iMessenger? I think. And so, I think kids get that. I don't think they really are as email based as we were prior.
I wonder how much these kids are clicking on all the ads that are inside of Facebook, right? Because ultimately for Google Plus, for Twitter, for Facebook, whatever, right? They want to keep people's attention because there's so much out there demanding our attention all the time. They want to keep you as long as possible inside of their platform. So they force quote unquote email upon you. They make you the platform of choice, or them the platform of choice, etc. All of that though, right, is for the purpose of ultimately selling ads, because that's how they make their money. So I'd be really interested to see how many of these kids that are spending all this time inside of Facebook and only Facebook, not even email or even Twitter per se, like how much, like what percentage of those folks click on ads? Because I know all the campaigns that I run, the CTR is very tiny, but of course then you don't pay.
Well, you got two things there. You got one that Facebook encourages ads to be redirected to Facebook pages. Those ads are cheaper. Those ads, Facebook favors ads that go to internal landing pages. So using the custom landing tabs in your Facebook pages, creating a canvas there. So Facebook.
How do they?
It's lower in your cost per to run them. They're cheaper ads. It costs you more to drive traffic out of the platform than it does to drive traffic within the platform.
So
the ad calculator, yes.
Account?
Yes, the ad calculator takes into consideration the destination.
Well, I had also read a while ago that people, once they're inside of Facebook, also, with the ads, don't really like being sent outside of Facebook either. So just generally, you want to keep the people inside of Facebook.
This is why people don't like to click links to our blogs when we share them. They don't want to leave. They know that will pull them out. Anytime you can share internal content, you're going to get a better click-through, which is frustrating to us as marketers and site owners.
But then also, that seems to me to be completely the opposite of Twitter, because I noticed that I can get more clicks on stuff I put into Twitter than responses to general, hey, how's it going, or asking questions or things of this nature. It seems like people definitely use Facebook for interaction, and then Twitter for just finding out about news or little quick updates or whatever.
I think the
so they're fine
culture of
with
Twitter
going
is to
elsewhere
click.
And what have you.
It's to click, skim, close,
Yes.
click,
Yes.
skim, close. And I find it very ADHD. They don't tend to stick around. It's a very high bounce traffic. Not as high bounce as my stumble upon traffic. But you've got to work really hard if you're going to capture a Twitter lead.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, and that's, you know, they want that, again, that impulse feed. But yeah, you're right. It's a very different platform. But you really have little choice but to click out. You're limited to like 120 characters by the time you take into account retweets and such.
Do you do anything different to capture that Twitter traffic or those leads, knowing that that's the habit on Twitter? Is there anything you do differently as a marketer?
Man, so much of what I do is so built into my marketing now. I kind of have to think about that. You know, and that's probably a better topic for our Twitter week, because we've got an upcoming Twitter week.
Okay.
With Facebook, I have to really think about what I'm going to do with a piece of content. And the thing that I now do with Facebook is I'll make a blog post that's image rich, and I will share the blog post first. And then because the blog post will be dead in 3 hours, because the visibility of EdgeRank, that post will essentially be gone in 3 hours, then in 24 to 48 hours, I come back and I yank that image, and I bring that image into the platform with a snippet of the post. I share the image, which gives you most of the content of the post, a snippet of the post, and the link to the post, and now at least I get some eyes on the content, even if I don't get a click-through.
Could you go over that again? That was interesting.
Okay, so write a blog post. Let's say the blog post I'm working on today is actually, you know, how to make Google notifications of events not be auto-added to your Google Calendar. Okay? We were just talking about this.
Good luck with that.
For this, I've made an image, a screenshot that is really a tutorial screenshot. Okay? So I've embedded that. That is the bulk of the content of the post. It's a very image-rich post, but it has this big tutorial screenshot in it. And so I'm going to finish this blog post. I'm going to publish this blog post, and then I'm going to share this blog post to my Facebook page. And I'm going to let it do its thing. It'll get a little bit of engagement, but it's a link, so people don't want to click it. You know how it goes. It'll be dead in about 3 hours. It'll get a little engagement. It'll get some shares. I've got some great fans. But within 2 days, it's still going to be relevant content, but nobody's going to see that old post. It's dead. And so I'm going to take the image that was in the post and upload the image to Facebook, take a snippet of the content, like the opening paragraph or something that grabs attention, a little attention grabber snippet, and put that in as text and a link to the post, and give my Facebook fans this content, even if they don't click out. But again, this piece is going to be dead in 3 hours. Now, it is in my image folder. Some of my fans have learned to use my image folder, my photos folder, and some have learned to use that. But then it comes back around and it gets recycled, because what's happened is the first time it was tweeted, the second, it was tweeted when it was launched as a blog post. Then it was tweeted a second time when it came off my Facebook page. Then it was tweeted a third time when I uploaded the image. So the image brought Twitter back to my Facebook page that time. And then, you know, there's additional work that I do with Twitter to push that post. And then it still comes around at the end of the week, and I still do a big synopsis digest that I send my email subscribers. And so it's a lot of content recycling. It's a lot of pushing the visibility per post.
You know what's interesting, though? Like, with you saying that, I found that with stuff like Triber, again, with, you know, people using Twitter as a hit-and-run kind of tool, not clicking outside of Facebook, etc., that before, I had read someone said like, oh yeah, the life of a blog post is only like a day or two or something like that because of people just wanting the new content. But now it's, I mean, you could make a blog post last for days and it can still keep getting traffic just because it keeps getting distributed. And then people, again, the hit and run nature of Twitter or what have you, right? You could send that link out like a bunch of times a day and people, you kind of hope that you even get a bunch of clicks because you just kind of got to hope that people are either right there, like when they see your post, or that they're
I don't want to get too far into Twitter, but when we come back to the Twitter topic, we want to talk about like time optimization and things like Twiriad and things like, looking for those sweet spots in your follower base. And I know my fan page has dead spots. I am a night owl, but if I post stuff at 2 a.m., it falls on its face. It really does. Its visibility is about 6% rather than 14%. That piece falls on its face if I post it at 2 a.m.
I'll tell you, with Facebook, I've almost, at least with my business page, I've almost completely stopped sending people away. And what I found was when I just started engaging people in conversations, like within Facebook, then that gets a heck of a lot more activity than even putting a link to a blog post and then commenting. But I'll notice that sometimes if I link to a blog post, but I leave a bunch of commentary about the post, like what I think about it, opinion, whatever, then people, even if they don't click and go read that thing, although I don't necessarily know if they do, if it's not mine. But either way, sometimes even without reading the thing, they'll just take whatever I've said and start commenting on that, which increases the
and increases the edge rank of the page overall, the overall visibility of every piece of content on that page for every comment you get. So,
people just want to talk.
Well, now it depends on my content piece, because if I have to phrase things carefully. Because I am considered, God, I hate to say this, considered a professional at what I do, people hesitate to disagree with me at times. And people hesitate to, you don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think...
No, he's happy to disagree.
You don't think she's a professional, or that people will disagree with her?
But I think you know what I'm saying, that people hesitate to look poorly in front of anybody that they view as a professional. If somebody is a fitness professional and they're talking, they give some kind of a viewpoint that's kind of a statistic, kind of a fact in the industry, even if they elaborate on it, people really hesitate whether they want to jump in and risk being wrong in front of that kind of view. And some will. You'll have people that will jump in, but it really helps to take that fact and to soften it, to find, what have you found? To ask people to take the fact edge off of it. If you're going to do it as a fact to make it shareable, then make it short and do a call to action to share. But if you're going to do those extended write-ups, to really soften them so that I get better engagement that way. Yeah, I don't know. What have you seen, Robert?
Well, I ask people for their feedback a lot. And generally, when I ask if they have, the thing that concerns me isn't necessarily having someone feel off-put or what have you. It's actually just getting them to freaking put their opinion out there in the first place. Because even if I ask, I'm like, what is your opinion? And I know people are looking at it because I see the numbers, like, right? I'm pointing at it like you can see it, but it's like, on my Facebook page here, people just sometimes just won't give their opinion. And maybe I think it's not necessarily how they look in front of you or I or somebody, it's how they generally look to people, or the, oh, well, what if, what'll everybody think of me if I put my opinion actually out there? So I think it's just tough getting people to throw in their 2 cents in the first place. But when I ask for someone's opinion or ask, what they think of this or what have you, then that tends to get at least a bit more back and forth. But also, I make it very clear to people that if you're going to argue with me, and I'm open, I am very open to arguments, but you better damn well bring your facts, or I'm going to nail you to the wall. So,
but I think you're right. I think that is the other side of the token. There are just people that are hesitant because of their own view of life, view of the world, to speak their opinion.
Cities. So do you ever work from like Coco or any of those co-working spots?
No.
Oh my god. You don't co-work? Dude. Oh my god. No, yeah. Totally. We should
I am back. Totally Google's opinion of my opinion was that I should go away. Yes. You guys are both in the same general area.
I are neighbors.
How far are you apart?
Very cool.
Oh, very cool.
About like an hour and 45 minutes or so.
Since when do you do that?
With me not getting a ticket, that is.
But you said you're moving to the cities or just coming temporarily?
No, I just have a lot of meetings there over the next couple weeks, so I'll be up there like constantly. But yeah, we'll probably be moving there within the next year or so.
Okay, well,
year and a half.
Give me a shout.
See, so I'm gonna have to get up there, hang out with you guys. You know, it's gonna have to happen.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
oh dear, yes, yes. Yes, the monitor does not give nearly enough of a tan to justify my pale white skin out there in the farm sun. Well, everybody assumes because I work in tech that I'm a city girl. But I'm a farm girl. You know, I live out here in a rural area. We have livestock, we have cattle, and I'm a horse in addition. And what we're dealing with at the moment is central U.S. is an extreme drought. We've lost most of the cornfields. We've lost a lot of the hay fields. Prices in the grocery store this winter are going to be higher because of the drought in the crop producing states. And this was a case of we needed hay for some of the animals we have in pens rather than out on the open pasture. Even the open pasture we're having to feed on because the grass is dead. And so we had no choice but in this 103-degree heat to cut hay. And so I was out in 103-degree heat cutting hay. And then yesterday we baled hay in this heat. You know? And I am burned, but you know, what was this? That's right. The cows are fed and happy. The horse is fed and happy. You know, my critters, they got to come first. But I don't know. The neon glow off the monitor just doesn't do anything for getting me enough tan to handle that. Oh.
I wanted to add to what we were saying about people's opinions, that I think not only is it hard to get their opinions because of what
this is random.
They might look like when they give their opinion in public. Hi, Kat.
Yeah, random. He come in hollering, "Are you there, Mom? Are you there?"
Brandon?
Hi.
I think another aspect is, you know, Facebook is not as fast as Twitter, but people are moving fast a little bit. So a lot of it, I think it has, sometimes it's not that they don't want to give their opinion, but they are just fast. So the way I say this is that, you know, I'm in certain groups, and sometimes I would share something I posted on my page in the group and trying to lure them to come to my page and comment. And I would get they would go to the page and they would say, great info, thanks for sharing. And on the group, the same topic, they would start giving their opinion and asking questions. So I get all this engagement inside the group.
Groups are really highly engaged a lot of times. And I don't know if that's because they're private. I don't know whether that's because they're out of the view of Google or they're invite only in a lot of cases. I don't know where that comes from.
That's interesting because maybe, I mean, something that Mark Schaefer recently brought up was he said that a lot of his college students are upset that employers are actually looking at their Facebook streams and Twitter streams and what have you, and looking at that stuff and considering it as a part of, you know, do we want to hire you? I mean, if someone's being some...
you said asshat.
Some asshat or something on Facebook, you know, then
Yeah.
you might not want to hire
Yeah.
that guy. It could have been worse, but I decided to keep it light. So, but, you know, but the point being, though, is that you bring up an interesting point of, well, if it's, you know, someone's still trying to maintain barriers between this is how these people view me, this is how these people view me, and this is how these people view me, and they try and keep that all separated, when in reality, I personally don't believe you should. But, you know, maybe that's why they're in the groups, as you said, because that doesn't go post a timeline or what have you.
On a page, yes.
You post on a
Yes,
page,
it goes
though.
to
By
timeline.
default goes
Now,
to timeline.
you know, that comes back to that mixed discussion of social media, though, because in day-to-day offline life, we have personas. We have different groups of people that see us differently. We have, you know, pockets. And social media tends to really blur that. And I think that that does create some unease or some dis-ease. You know, I have the ability, if I pick up and I go to a big WordPress conference in St. Louis, there are things those people know about me, assume about me, and see from my appearance on site that does not connect to things I may or may not have done the weekend before at a party. You know, those become separate pockets in the offline world. But in the online world, it's so conglomerate and so overlapped and so in that ticker that, you know, people really worry, I think.
I think that's one of the reasons for the popularity of the groups, like you were alluding to earlier, Kim, you know, that kind of privacy. It gives that sense of safety. And don't we all in the offline world have those places and people that we go to where we feel safe, where we can be a little bit more of ourselves, let our hair down, so to speak. And I think the groups encourage that kind of environment where, okay, I can be myself here. I don't have to worry about what so-and-so is going to see or think or whatever.
That brings up, that makes me think, though, do you remember when they started putting excuse me, phone or cameras on phones, and all of a sudden, like, anything that you did on the offline world could be posted onto Flickr or shared on Twitter, what have you, and people were like, oh my God, you know, nowhere is now safe and whatnot. Or, you know, and now it's, you know, you could post something on Facebook or, I don't know, one of what, like hundreds of thousands of social networks that there is nowadays. And so, are you saying that maybe they're one of, like, the last bastions?
Oh, I think so.
Online privacy?
Okay, let me give one more, because where you're going actually hinged on something that I listened to as an audio through one of my podcasts the other day. When printing press first came out, people tried to get them banned because they violated people's ability to keep control of the documents in a limited area. And suddenly strangers were reading their books. And suddenly they felt naked and exposed. Boy, does this sound familiar? When cameras, physical cameras, you have to develop the film, came out, people did not want to be Kodak'd. People did not feel, even if they were in public, even if they were the president, they did not want to be Kodak'd because they did not want their image and likeliness circulated in things like newspapers. And they really made this big public push against photography and against public journalism. And it was this definition between what is private and what is public. This comes from the audio book Public Parts. I can't remember if it's called Public Parts or Private Parts. It's Public Parts and Private by Jeff Jarvis. Okay, then it's Public Parts by Jeff Jarvis.
I think
But it really is. He's talking about what is public and what is private and how has it changed over time. And how have we changed how we look at it. If you haven't picked that up, you really should. It's a great book or audio book, depending on how you want it. It's on Audible. And it really made me think about how we always feel like this is such an alarming shift to what is, you know, our definition of public and private. But it's been in flux for centuries.
See, this is how
you definitely got it. It's a good book.
You told me that. I went to Amazon and I, like, one click and I'm buying it on my Kindle.
I would tell you should use my Amazon link, but Amazon hates me because I live in Illinois, you know? Yeah, no, Amazon's hating on me.
Oh. No, but that's a very interesting point that you bring up, Kim. So it's basically, you know, what can we control?
Can I tell a personal story?
Can we even control any of it, you know, anymore?
How dirty? It's so dirty. You'll never believe it.
Dirty,
no. It is. About a year ago, I had built my profile up real strong, but was using it for a lot of business networking and things. And I hit a very rough point in my life. I was just out of a divorce, or just entering a divorce. I was just separated. And I was dealing with a lot of really rough stuff in my very personal life. And the couple things that I posted very much about that and about what I was dealing with, I caught more private messages informing me that I should never post that because I was damaging my brand on my profile than you would believe. And I shuddered and I retracted and I pulled back and I said, okay, now where do I go? This is supposed to be my pocket of people. These are supposed to be my people. Where is my friends in this conglomerate of social mess? And for a while, I retreated to the safety of a group. And Kathy is probably familiar with the Women of Facebook. And I went there and I made several very long, very deep, very emotional posts. Mm-hmm. And they were completely out of character for my business persona, but they were the real me. And I got a lot of support there. I got a lot of people who really stood by me there. And after that, those same people watched my profile for signs that I was in trouble and made sure, a lot of them made sure that if I posted something that appeared rough, that they didn't let other people hate on me for damaging my business brand. And what ended up becoming of this, in addition to, you know, that really being a very helpful thing through that time of my life, was one that I learned that there is this pressure on our private network for us to maintain these brands. How dare we look like we're not keeping it all 100% happy-go-lucky? How dare we look like we're actually human? And that made me really frustrated with this network of people that I had. I had 1,500 people on my friend connections, but I quickly learned that there were really only about 100 people there worth knowing. And it was at that point, once I pulled away for a while, and then I rolled my profile into a page, and I let them sit unmerged for a bit. And finally, I merged that profile into a page, and I went without a profile for about a month. And then I created a new profile, and for about 3 months, the only people I added were those about 100 and some odd people who had been there, or who normally were there, but were doing something else during that point in time in their life. Yep, people that love us still do miss things. Social media makes it easy to miss stuff. And so I created this list on Facebook. I call them my near and dear. And that is the list that I now watch avidly on Facebook, even as I'm starting to grow out my profile, and even as I'm starting to feel comfortable letting people close to it again. And even though I use it very sarcastically and very irreverently, I have this little list that is the people that were there. And how fascinating I found that 1,500 people came back to Dunbar's number.
Hmm.
Interesting. So is your takeaway, Kim, I'm really interested in this. Is your takeaway that,
Yeah.
you know, there's always going to be that 150 no matter how big your following gets, that there's like an assumed intimacy, but it's kind of false in a way, that the media.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right that the media, but look what we've done to the word friend. What does the word friend imply?
Yep.
And now we let lots of people into that word friend. We've polluted a word that really is kind of troubling.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I've been thinking about this somewhat lately myself, and so that, you know how you're just always interacting with people kind of randomly on Facebook, and there was a woman who I would have considered a friend, and we were friends, and we would comment on each other's lives. And then somebody who also knows her mentioned that she was being treated for cancer.
They're coming to take you away, Rhonda. You're talking about people again, you're in trouble.
You know, my point is just that if she was really a friend, I would have known that she was going through this personal crisis, but I didn't. But we were still, quote unquote, friends on Facebook.
Well,
Exactly.
you know, one thing that when I was first going through the worst of it, I really was very hurt that some people I expected to be there, some people who should have made an appearance in some of these discussion threads, some people who should have done something, made no appearance. But I'll tell you that a lot of them that I expected to have made an appearance, I found out 6 months later were going through their own situation, and I was too blind to see it because I was in my stuff and they were in their stuff, and they weren't keeping up with the news feed any better than I was, and we missed each other. And a lot of them sent me messages, oh my God, I didn't know, I wish I could have been there, things in my world fell apart, this was going on, my dad just died, are you okay now? And so some people honestly miss stuff in social media. And so we tend to think that people see everything that goes down that news feed. But even if you're using most recent. Now I use a filter that forces my browser to always show most recent. I have a browser add-on that does that. But even if you're using that, people are missing stuff. I miss stuff. And we don't always read between the lines when people are trying to protect their brand either. Yeah, there's another.
That's right.
Are we wired for that?
Or when your brain's not really wired for deep thought anymore, where you just see I mean, you just see an update. Yeah, it's interesting though, because Dino Duggan, co-founder of Triber, and I talked about this too. And what Dino said was that, with social media nowadays, the relationships are very shallow. And I can say, and I will say, I mean, this might sound bad, but honestly, the amount of people that I would consider like real friends, like, we know what's going on in each other's lives, all of that kind of thing, is very minimal. And it's mostly people that I either talk to all the time on Skype, like on a at least weekly basis, or that I see in real life. But generally, I mean, on social media, again, because we have so much stuff going on, right? Like the Twitter feeds, the Facebook feeds, whatever. It's just hard to keep up with a lot of people. Plus, sometimes our interests change. So whatever we're interested in at the time, maybe we pay more attention to folks. I know I definitely do this, right? I might pay attention to a certain group of folks more because I'm interested in this topic right now, and then my attention shifts to a different topic, and then I pay attention to another group of folks a bit more, and these people don't get as much attention. And unless I have established a deeper relationship with them, which takes, months to years, right, to really do that, have Skype calls, have video calls, all this kind of thing, to really create a solid relationship, then that it just, those relationships...
Well, there is one inverse to that, though. And the inverse that I found to that is, Robert, to me, you're a good example. You and I have made a really neat connection out here, We have a lot of mutual respect. I mean, making assumptions here, maybe speaking on behalf of you. There's a lot of that. And, you know, there would be the potential for us to do things like come together as JV, things like that later in the future, you know, in the future. And if either of us needed something, the other would only have to ask. But we don't get to engage daily. We don't get to be, you know, immediately in each other's lives. But at the same time, there is a whole relationship there that can be tapped when needed. And there is that being on the listen for the other to simply say, I need something. And I've got a lot of those out here. There's a lot of people that if I will just directly reach out to and say, hey, can you do this? They're like, cool, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Kimberly, you and I are a prime example of that. You were the very first person I ever connected with on Facebook outside of, the people that I already knew in my, real offline world. And, we can go for sometimes months without even, commenting on something or whatever. I was one of those people who didn't even know what was going on when you were, going through one of your darkest times. But yet at the same time, we know that relationship is there, and it's very, very solid. And if either one of us ever needs anything, it's like, hey, and we're always there for each other. And I think those kinds of relationships, those genuine friendships, are able to be formed on social media sites like Facebook, despite the fact that we have, excuse my language, bastardized the word friend. Don't laugh, Robert.
No, it's true, because what I'm thinking is maybe well, and Kathy, to your point, I'm wondering now, and Kim, I totally agree with everything that you said, and we've talked about potentially doing some stuff together, and it makes me think that maybe the meaning of words can change over time, within the culture. That's totally fine for that to happen. So maybe it's also with friend nowadays, the original definition of friend really is almost kind of out, not necessarily out the window, but maybe there's different, there's always been different types of friendships, right? And so maybe this is just a new type of friendship where you don't have to have that constant communication. Oh, hey, we're buddy, seeing each other every day and what have you. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's totally, it's totally cool. And maybe it's just kind of the next evolution of relationships.
I agree. I think that definitely, there's something going on with the different degrees of friendship. But I think, in my experience, that, Facebook and other social medias have expanded these opportunities for all those different kind of relationships, business relationships that sometimes are a little closer than just a cold business relationship, but it goes a little bit into the friendship realm. And it also, I think, in my case, I see it happen on the outside world as well, with people that I'm friends on Facebook, and we discover other interests that brought us together in a more business sense, as well. I think this multitude of information and possibilities for relationships, I welcome it, because it has expanded my world in a way. And sometimes I do need to work hard just to keep my friendships. I'm not losing friends, but sometimes, like, get off the computer and stuff like that. I think striving that balance and keeping this flexibility and having this spectrum of different kinds of relationship is very valuable and useful.
And Kim, going back to something you said, where people were kind of getting on top of you for sharing personal stuff on your harming your personal brand or whatever the hell. I think it's really interesting, because I know when I first started out in business in 2000, I definitely had in my head this idea that a business had to be big to be successful. It had to appear a certain way. I spent literally thousands of dollars for fancy folders and letterhead and awesome business cards and stuff that I look at today, and I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm spending the money for that. You know, like I'm not printing out a damn thing. You know, maybe a business card, that's about it. But yeah, so a lot of the yeah, it's interesting because I thought that social media would make things a bit more personal and allow us to be more personal. Like if someone wants to tune out from all my stuff because I share personal stuff, which I do through my page, through my blog, whatever, then that's fine. And like they can shove off for all I care, quite frankly. Because I like it. I don't know, personally, I like it when people get a bit more personal and show, oh, hey, you are human. You're not some faceless brand that, you know, is like some concrete thing that, you know, without feelings and what have you. I don't know, but maybe that's just me, and maybe people, but other people, I think, sometimes have this idea of, well, if I'm looking up to this person...
Okay, I sent an email to my list not too long ago that had one blurb at the top, 2 sentences that said, I'll be gone the rest of the week. My mom is getting married. You know, it's going to be a wonderful weekend. I'll catch up with you when I get back, but here's what you need to know for the something going on. The rest of it was all completely social media, social marketing. There was really no emotion in it. There was really not much beyond I'm going to have a good weekend. A little short blurb at the top. Somebody unsubscribed with a message that there's too much personal BS here and not enough social media. What? I have that email somewhere. I should publish it. I really should. And, you know, that's the case. But coming back to keeping the, you know, keeping the friends close, the closer, I found with that list that I developed, that near and dear, that generally they all know that I tend to speak public. I tend to use my profile very publicly. So when I filter something to only that list, our eyes don't look at that little privacy setting on posts. It's there, and if we're worried, we look for it. But generally, we don't look for it. So if I write to that list only, and if I restrict the privacy of that post to the list only, I put brackets around it that says for friends only at the very front of the post, and that catches their eye. And that tells this group of people, you know, that this is something that is restricted privacy. Please keep it here. And is kind of an alert that there's something more personal here. And I found that those pieces tend to get huge engagement. People tend to grab onto them and to really be there when I do something like that.
Cool.
That's actually a fantastic suggestion, Kim. Not only the near and dear list, but
yeah,
that
you know,
blurb
anything
at
that
the beginning of what you're posting.
Somebody I know is welcome to copy that, as long as she includes me on that list.
I think somebody you know is going to...
I better be on those near and dear lists. Come on.
A few people, you know.
Yeah, it's about time we get wrapping up, anyways.
But on that note, I want to thank you for this time. I do have to go, but it's about time. Nice meeting everyone. Robert, I'm looking forward to see you somewhere.
Definitely, I've definitely got to get up that direction.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Actually, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. It has been a pleasure. I appreciate everyone for coming out. We have 3 or 4 more of these scheduled. They are in the event listing, but I will get event invites and that all sent out shortly. And so the dates are in the event listing if you need them right away. And it's been a great time, so thank you. Nice to meet you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome, Kim.
Thank
Thanks.
you,
This is
Kim.
great.
Nice to meet everybody. Thanks.
Nice to meet all of you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Adios.